The Tornado is not feeling so well. 69 hours, there's a chip on the piston, I'm like 99% sure. I'll show it to you guys and show you what's up. I think I'm gonna swap out the piston, rings, cylinder, bunch of gaskets, and see how she runs and show you guys what it looks like inside. So I've pulled the prop off. Technically you don't even have to, but with a 3-blade prop, it's always in the way. Now I'm gonna pull the exhaust. It's just these two and these two. The whole exhaust should drop off. It attaches to the head, which we need to replace. With these two and these two out, the exhaust will be off. We'll pull these four, the head will be off. We'll be looking at the inside of the motor, and then that'll give us some interesting, I don't know, tells as to what might have went wrong. All right, I thought I ran into a minor issue, and now I think I might have gotten lucky. So the scoop is these studs, when I loosened them out, they came out of the old head. I would have thought, you know, usually when you take a nut off a stud, you want the nut to move, not the stud. And now I'm stuck with these studs out here. However, the new cylinder head did not come with studs. So if they had stayed in the head, I would have had to find some way to gracefully remove them. Instead, I think I'm just going to screw them into the new head and pretend I meant to do that. Alright, trying to get a little video of it while it's still in the cylinder. I don't know how well you can make it out, but there's a chip on the bottom center. I don't have a screen, I don't know what you're seeing, but you can probably make out that chip. That's the core of the issue. And then that scoring on the cylinder implies it's seized. I showed it to Laurent, and he thinks that it was running too lean. I disagree. I think that he was maybe thrown off by some bad exposure on a picture I sent. So I'm going to spin this a little forward and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, I don't know what this looks like on camera because the lighting is so tricky. To my eye, it's black but not built up. And the spark plug was rich too. I don't think it's a lean condition, but like in terms of mechanical competency, I'm much more of just a part swapper than I am like a really great diagnostic mechanic. And fortunately, that's all the skill I need for this job. I'll swap some parts. But I don't know why that chip happened. Lawrence said that it was kind of safe to just rock this thing at full throttle all the time. But full throttle is so much on a Tornado, I usually climb at 3/4 throttle. I full throttle for launch. And then sometimes I use it like as a get out of jail free card, like maybe my foot drag's going a little cockeyed and I want to just burst in throttle. But I don't typically just hold full throttle for a long time. I was doing tandem flights and I use a little more full throttle on that, but it might have already been broken. I felt like I wasn't getting the power I was accustomed to, but because I don't do a lot of tandem, I didn't have a great sense of what normal is during a tandem flight. So anyway, this is the chip, and I don't know how to properly photograph so that you guys get good color on that piston, but it's kind of black and not built up. It actually looks pretty nice aside from the fact that it looks terrible. So there's a new symptom I just discovered. This post, stud I guess, is heated up on both sides. That's the exhaust side. I don't know how well I can video it for you. But it ties in with the fact that I found this needed to be retorqued not too long ago. I think this post maybe heated up and stretched, and maybe that led to detonation. I'm really getting outside of my depth, but I think the fact that this is so fouled might be a symptom. Okay, got the piston out, went pretty smoothly really, and there's the chip. There's the side of the piston. Ooh, yeah, I wish I could tell you how, but there's lots of grooves in this. You can feel it's very much not smooth. There's the chip, and it's hard to describe this color. It looks like it's a mix of like new and black. Like a thin layer of black with the silver behind it showing through. Alright, shout out to Aviator for getting me my parts so fast. I broke it on a Sunday. On Monday they had them in the mail, and on Wednesday they were on my doorstep. These piston rings are not the same. One is kind of flat, and this one has a ridge to it. So I'm going to call them because I don't want to get it wrong or start guessing or, you know, even try to figure it out. Let's just call them and get them right. Okay, so I did the phone a friend thing. I called Aviator for help. This one, I don't know if you can see it very well, but it has a ridge on it. They're calling it a flange. That's the top one. This second one is the bottom one. You almost can't mess it up as long as you spin it right. And interestingly, I don't know if I'll be able to video this for you, but the profile of the dome is slightly different. Like this one I think has more on top, like maybe it has more compression. And perhaps that's related to why they changed the piston ring design. I don't know for sure. This is the kind of thing that gets way beyond like the part swapper level of mechanic I am. But they have updated the piston design and the piston ring. So let's get that going. It's going pretty well. I have the new piston in. I use the original bearing inside, and I have the new wrist pin and snap rings in. I've changed my style as a mechanic since I was younger. 20 years ago, that'd make me 26. I'd be way more inclined. I'd move a lot faster. I'd make more mistakes, and those mistakes, I'd be much more inclined to rage about them. Now that I'm 46, which is pretty old, I move a little slower. I make far fewer mistakes. And if I do run into a hiccup or something, I'm much more inclined to just sort of, you know, assess the new situation and figure out where to go from there than to jump around and throw a temper tantrum. So it hasn't been too bad an experience. Everything's sort of going nicely. Okay, so this top piston ring is the one that had the flange on it. And I'm not sure it's even possible to squeeze it enough to fit inside the cylinder. Remember that thing I just said about how old Woody is, you know, slow and steady and doesn't rage? We're putting that to the test with this. So I'm struggling to squeeze this and get the cylinder over it. We shall see. Okay, so I don't know if Aviator has it backwards or it was just a communication issue, but the flat side of this piston ring does not face the top. I've been sort of fighting this for a little while. I need to pull this apart, flip this piston ring so the L faces the top, and try again. Well, we really put that don't rage thing to the test today, but I've just been frustrated, but certainly no temper tantrums. Here's the scoop. This is the old cylinder. And this distance, like I'm putting my finger against, is about 3 millimeters shorter on this one than it is on this new cylinder. The parts just aren't compatible. So the symptom is, when I try to slide it in, I get a little gap here. And the challenge is, if you can see this ridge down there, that ridge down there, that's what it bumps into. So I can't use that cylinder head on this. I don't know what the solution is. I could possibly hit this with a grinder and clean it up really well afterwards. They could send me a different head. I don't think I want to grind in there. That seems like the hard way to solve it. So right now I'm waiting on Air Conception to formulate a plan on what to do about this not fitting. Alright, several days have passed and I'll give you an update. This thing is I think it's called the crankcase. And in it, there is room for the skirt of the cylinder to slide in 40 millimeters. That's how long it hits before there's this ridge. This is my original cylinder head. And this skirt, I don't know if I can show you very well, but it's about 38, I'm doing something wrong. There we go. It's about 38, 39 millimeters long. This... nope. This is the one they sent me to replace it. And it's 41.5 millimeters long. So the problem was when I slid it in there, it didn't connect. It didn't slide all the way in, and there was a 1.5 millimeter gap. So now they sent me a new crankcase, and this one is 36 millimeters long. So it's about 2.5 millimeters shorter than this one, and all three of them are different sizes. So I don't know why that is the case. I went to Aviator and said, hey, you know, the one you sent me is too long. The air conception guys said, oh, they must have held on to a prototype from the time that we were like designing it and tweaking it and figuring out what our final measurements would be. I thought that makes sense, but I talked to Aviator and they said, no, this is a new one we just got. I'm not sure why it doesn't fit. And they had a couple on hand, and all of them were different sizes. And now I have 3 on hand, and all 3 of these are different sizes. So my takeaway from this is that the Tornado is still settling in, and I don't know if mine is its final form, which of these cylinders is its final form, but I do think that this one, with the 36mm skirt, this thing is called a skirt, is going to fit. So I'll lube up the inside and get it installed. I don't know how well I can capture it on camera, but there's a little pin there and this little pin there, and I need to squeeze this piston ring together so that it kind of grabs that pin and isn't on top of it. I'm told it's kind of impossible to get the cylinder head on and these be in the wrong position, because if this ring is on top of that pin, it won't squeeze tight enough for this cylinder to slide over the piston ring. I don't know. I feel like I could do it, especially on this back one. But I just thought I'd point it out. These two things have a particular spot that they go. Before I do the final assembly, I'm going to hit this thing with a little WD-40 engine degreaser, elbow grease. See if I can't clean up that carbon buildup a touch. Alright, this is how clean it is now. This last, whatever that is, 5%, super stubborn. I've had enough. I don't want to do anything more abrasive than just a Scotch-Brite pad. Like, I'm sure I could take it off with sandpaper, but not interested. WD-40 was not that effective. It didn't do that much. Engine degreaser, it cut through it quite a bit, even without the scrubbing action. So that's where we are. The O-ring goes in here. Nice. Alright, I've got, I guess, 5 torque wrenches, but this is the one I use on my paramotors. It's fairly new to me. The head bolts, head nuts tighten up to 23 Newton meters, which is 230 decimeters. I even converted it to inch pounds. I don't know if the camera's showing that, but it's 204. So it all checks out. Like, this is right where it needs to be. It just feels like a lot, but we're going to tighten it up. Oh, and when I do my torquing, I always feel good about the way I do it. I get it all tight by hand, and then I get it all tight to like almost nothing with a wrench. And then I just, all this in a star pattern, and then I star pattern to almost torqued and then fully torqued. It takes like 4 times around, but I really feel like I prevent this action from happening. Like if I were to go straight to full torque on this side, that might tighten up, and then this side never gets fully flat again. So by doing it just bit by bit, and inching up on the proper torque, I feel like the head stays flat against the cylinder. I didn't learn until recently that you have to put your torque wrenches all the way back at 0 for storage, so I thought I'd include that in case you guys didn't know it also. It is 100 degrees. I wiped the sweat off so I look pretty for you guys, and I'm not sure it works. This has gone so smoothly, it feels like I forgot something. But I don't think I did. So I'm just going to pre-flight it, prime it, and do my thing. Quick note about the primer. I like the blow tube type primers. This kind here, which is much more common, I feel like half the time I see air introduced or leaks or something like that, it's the primer or some complexity in the tubing. This primer doesn't even go to the fuel delivery. It goes to the tank, you pressurize the tank, and it just goes through. So it's not in line. And because it's not in line, it never causes a problem. And you know what? If you don't begin your session with a little bit of oil, I don't want to know you. All right, we'll see how she starts. Beautiful! So here's where we are. I did a break-in, sort of warmed it up, and then before I fully finished it, it just cut off and stopped running. All right, you know what's up with that? And then I tried to restart it and it didn't start, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to call that the first warm-up cycle. What happens is everything kind of jiggles and, connects, and then you retighten the bolts. So I did that. I let it fully cool off. I tightened the bolts. I tried to start it. Wouldn't start. Checked the spark. Didn't see it, but it was really bright. Finding spark is, sometimes an imprecise thing. Turned the lights off. Shut the garage door. Did see it. Thought it was weak. Thought I saw it. Thought I didn't see it. Took a video of it, clearly saw it. Talked to some of my friends, Ross, Elena, and they suggested to drop a new plug-in. Talked about the bathtub curve of reliability, how things tend to either break right away, arrive dead on arrival, or last for a long time. I put a new plug, now it seems great. It seems like maybe the spark plug was bad from the get-go. So there's another heat cycle on it. I'll probably do a third and then fly it, but not today because it seems windy. All right, winds on the ground. This is actually what a gust looks like. Really reasonable, make for an easy launch. Winds aloft though are 22 miles an hour, which is kind of too high. So I'm just gonna go for a nice easy ride, break in the motor, and after this I should be ready to do anything. A little wind right now, should be easy. So, my objective is to get about an hour on this motor. Half of that on the ground doing various heat cycles. You kind of heat it up to 3,000 RPM and then let it cool back down to idle. Take it to 4,000 IPM, back down to idle, 5, idle 6, idle 7, idle, etc. And I did that before I launched, tightened every nut and bolt, and just, gave her like I guess every pre-flight is good, but you want this pre-flight to be really, really good. And so that's what I did. Now I'm flying it around, same sort of thing, just flying and trying to have different RPM ranges in the flight, break in the motor properly. And I need about 10 more minutes, and then I'll be done this flight. I'll go back down and I guess post-flight the heck out of it, which works out well because I have about 10 minutes until sunset. But so far, everything is going great. I'm gonna go long, but unless you're Tucker Gott, I'm so long. It's better to not do turns right on the ground. It's a risk you don't need. It was so windy up top, and there's no wind on the ground. I have a tailwind. I think that contributed to me going long. It's weird. At like 300-400 feet above the ground, I have a strong headwind that I can barely penetrate. On the ground, slight tailwind that blew me longer than I thought. Whatever, blew me longer than I thought. Sounds wonderful. I learned something every flight. Quick look at the motor. Says no leaks. I'll do a more thorough post-flight inspection later, but it looks like it's a success. I've got my first hour on the new cylinder, and everything's going well.
It's me, Future Woody. So, if I was watching this video, I would have two questions. Hey, what do we think of tornado reliability, and how did the repair warranty stuff work out? What did it cost? So, tornado reliability is a question mark. I knew it would be. I've ordered this thing I pre-ordered it before any customers had it. I got one of the first 1 or 2 in America. So, there's just not that body of experience out there to say whether or not these things are reliable. Mine broke, but that's just one. I could be lucky. I could be unlucky. We'll see how this thing goes over time. But I'm not ready to draw a conclusion based on the problem that I had. It's just not enough of a user base out there. We'll see how it goes. 2, how did the warranty work out? Well, I bought it through Aviator PPG. At the time, they were the lead or only or exclusive or something air conception dealer. And it came with a 2-year warranty. So what they're doing is Aviator PPG is honoring that warranty even though they don't sell them anymore. So what happened is Air Conception said that I was at fault. They said that I didn't maintain my motor well enough, and that's why it went poorly. They said I should have torqued the head more often than I did. I torqued those head bolts 4 times in 69 hours. So you can decide as a listener whether you think that I'm not on top of this or not. It kind of hurt my feelings. I'm a guy who really post flights well. I wipe the whole thing down with this Grime Boss thing. It's like a wet wipe for engines, and I clean it and I observe it and I see if there's any new leaks and what that could be, and I check the prop for nicks. I'm really on top of my stuff. So when I heard that, like, oh, this thing's bad because you don't torque the head enough, it's like, that doesn't seem right. Plus, you all saw the color of it. It wasn't lean. I don't know. So Aviator filled the gap. Air Conception sold Aviator the parts at like even better than normal dealer price. And Aviator paid that on my behalf and I made the warranty whole. So if I was buying right now, what would I get? I don't know. Like maybe anything Aviator's selling that comes to mind. I really like my Tornado. I like the 185 Plus. That's a good engine. And to its benefit, you know, it hasn't seized on me, although I think my exhaust is cracking as I say this. But the Tornado is lighter and more powerful, but more fuel hungry. That's just a combo that sort of suits me. So I don't know. There are no perfect paramotors. Every wing is awesome. Every motor stinks. That's just the reality of this thing. But I would want to know this. How did it work out? Well, Air Conception semi-blamed me, cut Aviator deal. They honored the warranty. That's how it went down. So I hope you liked the video. Click on like if you made it this far. You must be a pretty happy customer, and have a good day.